Welcome to Elevating La Cultura podcast, a space where I talk with Latinas who are passionate about what they do and are willing to share that passion with others to change the narrative, especially for the next generation. Each season is centered around different topics, but all with a Latina perspective. Welcome to Season 7. I'm so excited to share these stories and hope they will offer encouragement, wisdom, and be something that you can relate to. So vámonos, let's get into it. Hola y bienvenidas to a new season. I'm Karina, host of Elevating La Cultura podcast. I wrapped up season 6 in December where we had amazing guests who talked about food. I legit was hungry after each conversation. Food is so important to our culture and for real stirs up feelings of joy and contentment and love. And I need to stop talking about it porque ya tengo hambre and I should have eaten before recording. Anyway, over the break, you all kept listening and catching up on past episodes, bringing us to over 3,500 downloads. So muchísimas gracias for continuing to listen and share with your community. And if you're new here or haven't listened to the past 6 seasons, you can binge listen to season 1 featuring Latina entrepreneurs, season 2 highlighting Latinas in the health and wellness space, season 3 with Latina educators, season 4 focused on artists and creators, season 5, which is a mini season where I share more of my personal story, and season 6 with Latinas in the food space. Each season elevates different stories, but all with the Latina perspective, because we all have passion in our areas of expertise while also pouring into the next generation. Because honestly, and I say this all the time, it starts with us being willing to put in the work to make generational change. This season, season 7, is going to be featuring Latinas who are using their expertise to shift the norm and truly elevate their culture in their businesses. I get so excited to talk to and then support amazing women who are passionate and willing to pass on their education to others so they can have the same understanding and success in their own life. Many times, I remember in my younger school days, there were rewards for people who did the most or got the best scores. I know they were trying to incentivize good grades and doing well, but I think that also created a sense of individuality because we were made to focus on our output rather than the collective. I know this is a subtle example, but honestly, if you take time to remember your elementary school days, you'll realize the subliminal conditioning we were influenced by. And as we got older, that mentality was only encouraged, especially when we're competing for jobs. Can you start seeing the connection that I'm making in my head? As I was building my business, I really didn't resonate with this mentality. Perhaps it was because I was always working so hard to fit in. I would always try to find groups to be a part of, encourage people, and support people, sometimes to the point that I put myself in emotional or mental stress. Let me share a hot mess of a story. Let's lean in, porque ahí viene el chisme. Now, you all know that I used to be a wedding photographer, and after years of consistently attending this popular networking event, I felt like I knew a lot of people who went. And I would message people to see if they would be there, and I would invite almost every wedding vendor I met or connected with so they could feel included too. As I was building friendships, I would give up my time and go on coffee dates with people, bounce ideas off of each other, and eventually try and brainstorm ways to collaborate. Back in the decade of 2010, getting published as a wedding vendor was a goal that everyone was aiming for. A lot of vendors would collaborate to create mock events called styled shoots so they could tap into their creativity and showcase their own ideas. Because when we were working at weddings, we were always executing our client's vision and our client's ideas. And I love to be the collaborating photographer to elevate my friends' work. And it was a lot of fun. However, I ended up collaborating with a new and aspiring event planner. We became fast friends because I really wanted to see her grow and succeed. And she started planning and pulling together teams to create these styled shoots. And I was hyping her up and helping her connect with more people. And then the dreaded happened. A styled shoot didn't go so well. And because I was the one who connected her with the venue, it was my name that was essentially in jeopardy. And let's just say I got the short end of the stick in this situation and I got burned. I was hurt that I was taken advantage of and blamed for a situation that was not initially my responsibility. But that ended up being my last styled shoot. It traumatized me so much that I'm like, no, this is not worth it. Because I was doing all of this for free. I felt so defeated. Now, I've learned so much since that experience and have learned how to go about things a little more wisely, especially as a business owner. But I think as a Latina, and thanks to my father's example, I've always had the value of making sure I'm looking out for other people to help them in their own lives. And because of that, when I worked with people that had a more individualistic mentality, like the one we've been conditioned to adopt, I just could never comprehend when people would take advantage of me or not put the same amount of effort towards something as I did. Thinking about this from a cultural lens, it makes so much sense that when we come from cultures that prioritize a communal mindset, we are more prone to share our time generously, share our wealth generously, and our knowledge generously. I know that whenever I learn something new in business, I'm like so excited to share with my friends who could benefit. Knowing that this community-based mindset is part of our cultural roots is so refreshing after being in spaces where you might be the one that gets passed over for being a nice person or quote unquote not ambitious enough, or you're around the quote, you should be happy to be here mentality that keeps you from pursuing more. That's one reason I created this podcast. I want to share people's stories who are doing amazing things and have a unique perspective and lots of wisdom to share with others. A lot of times we're processing all of the mental hoops that we have to jump through alone. And I hope that sharing relatable stories can help us start or continue to heal. And while it might seem like your kindness is always being taken advantage of, or you're always giving much more and it's not reciprocated, there is a way to stand in your power, in your authority, in your expertise, and be seen as the amazing person that you are. I've come a long way since being that photographer who took the blame for things that weren't my fault. I've learned to continue to give generously while establishing boundaries, set expectations, and basically just communicate well my values and my goals to see if they align with someone before going into a partnership. I know that people change and businesses pivot or shift, but that's where the clear communication comes in. Overall, I've learned to think a little more wisely while still having an open heart to support and encourage others. And this season, we're elevating other Latinas who are doing the same. They're seeing a hole or a need in their communities, and they're doing what they can to share their expertise and help others. I hope this season is encouraging to you to hear other stories you can relate to and inspiring to hear people who are out here caring for each other and the next generation. Now, there will be a new episode every Tuesday, so after you listen, feel free to take a screenshot to post on Instagram and tag @Elevating La Cultura, or send me a DM. You can also comment on our YouTube video if you're watching online. I always like to hear from people and how they resonate with the stories that I share. So, leave a review on Apple Podcasts so we can get more ears listening to these stories and we can continue elevating La Cultura. And be sure to check on the website, elevatinglcultura.com, for the latest in-person and virtual events that I've got going on this year. All right. Enjoy the rest of the day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening. Y nos vemos next week with our first guest for season 7. Adios.